Okay, it's time for probably my favorite class, even if they're not necessarily always the strongest class. It is monks. We're going to be looking at the subclasses of monks, the different ways that they have. When comparing monks, I'll be looking at the differences between the subclasses. So that'll be at levels 3, 6, and 9. Although the shadow, it gets an extra feature at level 5, but not at level 9. So I'm going to be comparing the level 5 feature from the Way of Shadow with the level 9 feature of the other subclasses. I'll also be looking at their multi-classing potential, and as much as it almost pains me to say it, I'm also going to be comparing Tavern Brawler between them, because whether we like it or not, it is such a ubiquitous feat for strong monks. This is, of course, just my own casual opinion. There's nothing definitive about this or completely objective about this. I'm ranking each of these things out of 10. So yeah, in third place, I don't think this is going to be much of a surprise. We've got Way of the 4 Elements. So for the level 3 features, a 6 out of 10. The level 6 features, a 4 out of 10. As with the level 9 feature and the level 11 feature, the multi-classing potential down at a 1 out of 10. And Tavern Brawler, I didn't mention it earlier, I'm only going to give it a maximum score of 5. I don't want this to influence the scores too much, and I've given it a 1 out of 5. So let's have a look at why. So I'm not sure what's going on with Mr. Half-Orc here. I'm not sure he knows how to put on his underwear correctly. So we get this Harmony of Fire and Water. While not in combat, regain half your key points rounded down. This is once per long rest. It is very much needed for Way of the 4 Elements. And we get to pick 3 kind of like magical abilities. Several of these are just equivalent of spells that other classes get. Some are unique, such as Fist of Unbroken Air and Shaping of the Ice and Fangs of the Fire Snake and Water Whip, but we only get to pick 3. I don't think the Way of the 4 Elements monk would be particularly a lot stronger if we had access to all of them, because one of the big downsides is just the number of key points we have compared to the effects these give just isn't really high enough. Anyway, you pick 3 of them. A lot of them have saves, although it isn't actually said here, and the saves are based off your wisdom. You do need a good wisdom as a Way of the 4 Elements monk. Obviously, all monks benefit from wisdom, because you really need dexterity and really need wisdom. And really, we need some constitution not to die. You need to stay alive. Now, upon level up, we can change these spells. So I could replace, I don't know, Water Whip with Shaping of the Ice. And one of the problems with the level 3 feature, these abilities just don't do enough damage at the higher levels compared to just hitting with your fists anyway either. Then at level 6, we get access to just 3 more spells. These are level 2 spells, the equivalent of level 2 spells, so Shatter, Scorching Ray, and Hold Person. And Hold Person, or Clench of the North Wind here, also requires concentration, and it's 3 key points in your action, and you've got to weigh this up against just using Stunning Strike, which you can try twice in a turn, only costs 2 key points. You could then stun 2 different people, and that doesn't require concentration. The downside is it only lasts for 1 turn, Stunning Strike, which we get at level 5, and it's kind of a little bit uninspired. Yes, we get some choices. I have praised that in the past, and I kind of like that. But as we level up, it's kind of difficult to actually justify using these Way of the 4 Element abilities. At level 9, some of the offensive 4 Element features basically get upgraded, which is kind of like about time. And kind of almost a bit late also. Let's say Water Whip. So we can see here, Water Whip now does 4d10 damage instead of 3d10. At the low levels, 3d10 is great. But at the higher levels, when we can be enhancing our attacks much more than just 4d10 bludgeoning damage and knocking something prone, I'd say it's probably worth just attacking. So at level 11, we get access to 3 more abilities. One is Ride the Wind, which is Fly, Mist Stance, which is Gaseous Form, and Flames of the Phoenix, which is Fireball, which is cool and all, but costs 4 key points for each of these. So in total at level 12, we do get 13 key points, which is alright. But until the higher levels, a lot of these are fairly costly. Okay, we can't target allies. They've got cool animations, which I really do like. Fist of Unbroken Air. And because I saved against it, the damage gets halved. Nothing happens. 6 damage. Honestly, pretty pathetic. Whereas I can attack twice with 1 turn. And why not Flurry of Blows? Do a bit more damage. And when we compare this to the other subclasses, actually, it just doesn't keep up. I'd rather just use Stunning Strike than a lot of these abilities we get as a 4 Elements monk. They're cool, kind of thematic, but just compared to the other subclasses, they are a bit lacking. Now, for multi-classing purposes, there's no natural fit for a 4 Elements monk. We need all of the key points we can get because we can use them up so quickly. Alright, we get some extra cool noises and stuff, but I can use this twice in a battle. We do get key points back on a short rest, which is nice. Get 6 of them back, but I can't do that again. If I could do this after every short rest, I'd be much happier. But yeah, who am I going to multiclass this with? Because I'm not going to get access to the stronger abilities unless I get to a high level in Monk. I mean, maybe a fighter, just to get access or proficiency in more weapons in case I want to use different weapons as a Monk. If I want to have something like Flames of the Phoenix, I can only multiclass a single level. So I'm not really seeing a natural fit. And as for Tavern Brawler, sure, Tavern Brawler would work, no problem. But it doesn't affect the spell save DCs of these abilities here. The spell save DCs are based on wisdom. If these abilities were like weapon abilities, then we could just stack strength or dexterity and then have high spell save DCs, but we can't. So by taking Tavern Brawler, you are not improving the one thing that makes Wear the 4 Elements different and unique, which is these 4 Elements abilities. So yeah, really not that impressed with Wear the 4 Elements. I still think all monks are cool, okay? I'm not here to say that you shouldn't play as Wear the 4 Elements and that you will fail at the game if you choose one and you're bad if you do. If you find it fun, take it. They are unique. They, no other class or subclass gets, for example, this, which is kind of cool. And you get these really cool animations. We can climb on this. Whee! Anyway, third place, Wear the 4 Elements. I don't think there are any surprises, and I don't think there'll be any surprises for second place. So in second place is Wear the Shadow, which for the level 3 features I gave a 7 out of 10, level 6 a 7, level 5 as it is really an 8 out of 10, level 11 features 5 out of 10, multiclassing potential of 4 out of 10, and the Tavern Brawler just a 3 out of 5. So at level 3 we get all these abilities here. Get Cantrip. Not necessarily useful in combat, but out of combat it's really nice to have someone with Minor Illusion. We can hide as a bonus action. And that's unlimited. As many times as we want, just like a rogue would do. Just one level later than any rogue. Get access to these spells which cost key points. Dark Vision, maybe this isn't needed for most races. But actually here, not so bad. And it's once per day you need to cast this. Maybe at the low levels, 2 key points is and does feel like quite a lot. Once you start having maybe 5 or 6 key points every time you have a rest, this doesn't feel so bad anymore. Access to Darkness. Basically, these are mostly utility spells, which I think is really good, which means there's no competition, no decision to be made in combat. You're mostly going to be attacking. Outside of combat, we can use Silence, Darkness. I've used this to help me sneak past some turrets before, for example. And just as a whole, this is really nice. You get a whole set of abilities, which are so thematic. It's really good versatility, and something quite a bit different from the other monks. Next is the level 5 ability, which is this here, Cloak of Shadows. Wrap yourself in shadows to become invisible if you are obscured. Now, what counts as obscured? Well, if you on PC at least, if you hold down Shift, can't remember the button on controller, there must be one, you can see where the cursor is kind of like a sun. It's a half-filled sun. That means I am obscured. If I go a bit further, there's a full sun, not obscured there. So anyway, I can go Cloak of Shadows, I'm invisible, and while you stay obscured, you will stay invisible. The one downside to this, let's just run over there. We should see, oh, there you go. If you're not paying attention and you run through an area that isn't obscured, you will become visible. But if you go back to somewhere that is lightly obscured or heavily obscured, oh, I'm not there. And don't trust what you see on the ground. It looks like I'm in shadow, but really I'm not. If I come to here, I can become invisible again. This won't be useful in every part of the game because there are places that are light, and yeah, you have to be careful. Pay very careful attention. Just like over here in the shadow, what looks like shadow on the ground, is actually not obscured. That's the main downside to this ability. Then at level 6, we get a second ability. This is so cool. Shadow Step. Teleport from shadow to shadow. Afterwards, you have advantage on your next melee attack roll. I don't really care about that advantage. What I really care about is I can now dodge around a map while invisible. And as long as there are some shadows while I'm slightly obscured, I can just teleport around. And I won't let you teleport to somewhere that isn't obscured. I know there's an area just here, right? So it won't let me teleport somewhere where I will become visible. This is about to run out. So I can become invisible again and start going around. It's not a complete replacement for Misty Step because of the limitations that there has to be some obscurity. But in the right areas, this is like a cantrip, basically, version of Misty Step. And you can't be seen. while you're invisible. Like the level 5 and 6 features synergize so well together. Absolutely love it. It's so, so good. Now in combat, I'm much less likely to use this. Yes, the advantage is good, but in combat, I probably want to be using Flurry of Blows. I want to be using my bonus action often to attack, not just to teleport around, but it's really good to have the option to teleport. Then we get to level 11. We get Shadow Strike, which can be with a weapon or your fists, and uses 3 key points. It's starting to get a bit expensive there. Now the downside is you must be invisible or sneaking. That's not so bad, because as a Shadow Monk, you can use your bonus action to hide. Let's just go to turn-based mode. And then let's use Shadow Strike on, I don't know, Tav Nightingale here. Which is, yeah, it's kind of cool, but you're paying, what you're really doing is paying 3 key points for 3d8 psychic damage. And you have to be hidden or invisible first, which usually means using your bonus action to do that. I can't use it because I'm not sneaking or invisible. Let's just say I come over here. I can then use this. This time I'll Shadow Strike, yeah, and have Nightingale again, why not? And I can't use my bonus action anymore because I've already used it. So for 3 key points and a bonus action on one of your attack actions to get really just 3d8 psychic damage, I'm not impressed. Not really. I mean, yes, you can take the Resonance Stone to make someone vulnerable to psychic damage, so yes, that can work out well. But outside of that one use, I don't think this is that good. If I could use it without having to be invisible or sneaking, I'd much prefer it. And the 3 key points, yeah, it's just a bit hefty for me for 3d8 psychic damage. It's thematic, but not actually that useful. Because the level 11 ability for me isn't that strong, and we don't require loads of key points necessarily, I don't feel forced to get up to level 11. And so then can work really well thematically, especially with rogues. Again, thematically works very well with a Gloomstalker, though some of the abilities do overlap. But maybe you want to take 2 levels in Fighter to get Action Surge, and you're not missing out in your level 11 ability that much. Much happier with multiclassing on a Shadow-based Monk, on a Wear the Shadow Monk. And Tavern Brawler a 3 out of 5 because you are probably, not always, but probably going to be using your unarmed strikes quite a lot. And it doesn't matter that you're using 1 key point per turn for Flurry of Blows. And in case you didn't know what Tavern Brawler does, first thing I need to do is take an elixir of, well, in this case, Cloud Giant Strength. What Tavern Brawler does is add your strength modifier twice to the attack roll and the damage roll. So the attack roll was 16 from the 1d20, 4 from the proficiency, 8 from the strength modifier, and 8 from Tavern Brawler. So a plus 16 or plus 20 to attack, which is just mind-blowing. And our damage, 8 from strength modifier, 8 from strength modifier, because it gets added twice. So Way of the Shadow, I don't actually have Tavern Brawler on my Way of the Shadow Monk, but if she had it, I'd be quite happy, because I will be using my action to attack, which could be with an unarmed strike, whereas Wear the 4 Elements, I might not be using that. I might be trying to cast the equivalent of Fireball or a whole person, but I'm not giving Wear the Shadow 5 out of 5 for Tavern Brawler, because that belongs to Way of the Open Hand, which is going to be our number 1 subclass for monks. And then in first place, really not very surprising, potentially one of my favourite subclasses, is the Open Hand Monk. It was the first character I built once Baldur's Gate 3 was released, was an Open Hand Monk. So level 3 features are 10 out of 10, level 6 features are 10 out of 10, the level 9 features are 7 out of 10, level 11 just a measly 3 out of 10, multiclass potential at 8 out of 10, and Tavern Brawler 5 out of 5. So at level 3, we get these extra abilities for Flurry of Blows, Stagger, Topple, Push. Stagger is probably not that useful considering we have Topple, because when someone is prone, when an enemy is prone, they can't take reactions anyway. The main use of Stagger is to take away the reactions of enemies that can't be knocked prone, which is some enemies have. It's not like all enemies can be knocked prone, but all enemies can be staggered as far as I'm aware. And Push is just cool because it pushes enemies up to, well, in this case 17 feet away, just under 6 meters, I suppose. That'll be about 6 meters. Now the great thing about this, the DC for the abilities here, for the open hand abilities, is like a weapon action DC. It's not based off your wisdom. It's based on the highest out of your strength and or dexterity. So DC here is 20 because it'll be 8 plus the proficiency, which is 4, which goes up to 12, plus the strength modifier, which is currently 8 because of the elixir I've got. So not only does having a high strength or dexterity just help you hit, actually it improves DC needed to pass the checks against your Flurry of Blows abilities here. And it's just 1 key point. is amazing. Then at level 6, we get the choice of adding either radiant, psychic, or necrotic damage to our unarmed strikes. The extra damage is, it doesn't actually say it here, but it's 1d4 plus your wisdom modifier. So if I had a +5 on wisdom, so my wisdom was 20, it would be 1d4 plus 5. And not only that, we get this amazing ability. The only sad thing about this is it's once per long rest, but I kind of understand why. We gain half your key points, awesome. And you get healing 3 times your monk level. And enter a temporary state of wholeness, where you regain key points and have an extra bonus action. So I can go into turn-based mode. Okay, I'm not hurt. And now, I've got an extra bonus action. If I give myself 3 levels in Thief, I'd have 3 bonus actions, and I could use this 3 times, which is 6 attacks. And with Tavern Brawler and his Cloud Giant Strength Elixir, that's just loads of damage, so much damage. This doesn't require much setup, is the thing. And maybe you can take a Potion of Speed, or get hasted. And for a few turns, you have 2 actions and 2 bonus actions. You're an absolute machine. Then we get this Key Resonance Punch. Hit a creature with your bare fists, which is going to be easy with Tavern Brawler anyway, making the key in its body resonate with yours. And so, I'm going to use this. What I can do is with a bonus action, punch the Steel Watcher. Do a half decent amount of damage. And then on the next turn, what I'll do is hit more people. So with Key Resonance Punch, I can attack a few people. And then not using an action or bonus action, Key Resonance Blast, detonate the key of a creature resonating with you, hitting the creature and anyone within 17 feet. Resulting explosions cause other nearby creatures resonating with you to also detonate. So I'll do it here. The 3 that have the reticles that appear beneath them at their feet will all explode. Which is a very nice way for monks to be able to do some sort of area of effect damage. Alright, I'm going to leave him here while I talk about the rest of it. At level 11, he gets Tranquility. Long rests surround you with an aura of peace, granting you Sanctuary. Honestly, at level 11, this is not what I want as an open hand monk, because I'm going to be jumping into the fray so quickly and attacking people immediately and probably killing them. It really doesn't add anything to my monk. The one good thing about it is it can let you explore because you're under the effect of Sanctuary. Enemies can't target you. I guess that's alright. When it comes to multi-classing, as I've already mentioned, the Thief multi-class works so well with the open hand monk because it means we can use this twice per turn, and which means we're outputting so much damage. Thief in particular works very well. Since we probably want, I'd guess about 9 levels in monk, that leaves us with 3 levels with another class. You don't have to go up to 9. I do see people recommend 8 because that's where you get a feat. Perhaps we don't think we need this Key Resonance, but having a melee character being able to use these as a bonus action is really nice. Especially since, as I said before, it's like a weapon action DC, not a spell save DC. So we don't have to worry about wisdom too much. Perhaps you want to go like 8 levels in fighter and 4 levels in monk. So then you can just use these as a bonus action. Perhaps a barbarian. I do want to point out that the barbarian's method of calculating armor class, which uses constitution and dexterity, does not stack with the monk's way of calculating armor class, which can be with dexterity and wisdom. You pick one or the other, whichever one gives you the highest armor class. And as for Tavern Brawler, this is a 5 out of 5. So not only does Tavern Brawler let us hit more often and harder, the fact that our unarmed strikes actually do more damage because of the level 6 ability, so it synergizes very well with an open hand monk when compared to the Shadow Monk or Wear the 4 Elements. So you let me know what you think. May have been a bit generous with open hand. I'm not going to hide behind it. It is probably my favorite subclass. When it comes to the totals, open hand for me blows the other 2 out the water, and Wear the 4 Elements is just lacking compared to the other 2. Shadow stuck in the middle. Shadow's probably better for a more utility type character for exploring. Open hand is just an absolute monster in combat. Wear the 4 Elements is something a bit different, something with a completely different flavor, gives you different utility. But yeah, you let me know what you think, and let me know why you think that, why you think something should be different. So thank you for making this far, and to the members of my channel, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one.